What if everything you believe about right and wrong was a story you learned, rather than a truth you discovered? What if morality, those rigid lines you draw between good and bad, turns out to be the greatest act of collective self-deception ever invented? From the moment we are born, we inherit a moral code. Don't steal, don't lie, don't hurt others. These commandments echo in our heads like ancient mantras, comforting and conclusive. They lull us into believing that morality is carved into the fabric of the universe, that it is objective and immutable. But a closer look reveals a darker story. Morality is a social technology, a set of conventions designed to bind us together, to guide cooperation, and most importantly, to control behavior. What we call conscience is often nothing more than the echo of society's whispers, shaped by power structures and historical accidents. Imagine a tribe on the eve of winter. Survival depends on cooperation. The elders craft rules, share the kill, care for the sick, taboo on violence within the group. These rules work. The tribe endures. Over generations, the rules crystallize into dogma. These are not suggestions, but sacred truths. Morality, in effect, is born from necessity. Its original function, to preserve the group, not to protect some cosmic ledger of virtue. Fast forward to modern life. The same moral imperatives, don't kill, don't steal, are amplified into complex systems of laws, punishments, and rewards. But somewhere along the way, morality became untethered from its evolutionary purpose. It transmogrified from practical guidance into a holiness test. Score points for virtue, avoid shame at all costs. Obey the rules or be cast out as a pariah. The line between ethical living and moral performance blurs. We are applauded not for genuine empathy, but for signaling allegiance to whichever moral fashion happens to dominate social media that week. What we forget is that moral codes are malleable. They change across cultures and centuries. Cannibalism, once taboo almost everywhere, was practiced in remote cultures as a sacred rite. Slavery was considered moral in societies from the Roman Empire to antebellum America. Women's suffrage was once a crime. Each shift carried both outrage and promise. What was evil yesterday becomes respectable today, and vice versa. If morality is so fluid, is it really a reflection of universal truth, or simply the shifting consensus of those in power? Consider the phrase moral high ground. It implies elevation, a vantage from which one sees truth most clearly. Yet history shows that the high ground is usually occupied by those with the loudest megaphones, the deepest pockets, or the deadliest armies. Morality has justified wars, conquests, and purges in the name of righteousness. Crusades, inquisitions, genocides, they were all moral crusades, holy wars, sanctioned by the prevailing ethics of their time. Morality, when fused with power, becomes the most dangerous lie of all. The belief that violence and oppression can be virtuous if they enforce the right code. So what happens when we strip morality down to its bones? We see that at its core, it's an agreement, an ever-shifting pact among humans to play by certain rules. Like any pact, it has winners and losers. Those who align with its dictates gain social standing, acceptance, and sometimes wealth. Those who don't are punished, shamed, or excluded. Morality thus functions as a regulatory system, maintaining social order by rewarding conformity and penalizing deviance. But this doesn't mean morality is useless. Far from it. Our ability to empathize, to care for one another, to form stable societies, all depend on shared ethical frameworks. The key is to recognize morality not as absolute law, but as a tool. Wield it consciously, question it relentlessly, and update it when it no longer serves genuine human flourishing. How do we begin to dismantle the lie? First, By developing moral self-awareness. Notice when your moral outrage flares. Who benefits when you feel righteous indignation? What do you gain by calling someone else immoral? Often, moral posturing conceals insecurity, fear, or the desperate need to belong. By sitting with these feelings, without immediately acting on them, you start to separate authentic compassion from moral performance. Second, practice moral pluralism. Engage with ethical systems that differ radically from your own. Study Eastern philosophies that emphasize harmony and balance, rather than the Western sharp division of good and evil. Read Nietzsche's critique of slave morality, which frames conventional ethics as a strategy of the weak to constrain the strong. Explore Buddhist precepts that treat suffering as a universal condition, not a moral failing. Each perspective reveals a facet of morality's constructed nature and expands your capacity for genuine empathy. Third, cultivate what I call ethical experimentation. Instead of treating your moral code as scripture, see it as a sandbox. Volunteer for causes you secretly doubt. Challenge yourself with thought experiments. What would you do if nobody judged you? If you had to choose between saving a loved one and saving a stranger, what principles guide your choice? These experiments don't produce fixed answers. They teach you the flexibility and complexity of moral reasoning. They free you from the paralysis of believing there is only one right answer. Fourth, anchor your ethics in consequence rather than intention. Our moral tradition tends to valorize intention. I meant well, therefore I'm virtuous. But well-meaning actions can still cause harm. A zealot who betrays a friend for the sake of justice thinks they're virtuous, yet their actions sow distrust. By shifting focus from intention to outcome, you ground your morality in reality. You ask, what actually improves well-being here, rather than what feels morally righteous? Finally, embrace moral solitude. At some point, you must stand alone, beyond the tribe's applause or derision. This solitude is not loneliness. It's the hall of mirrors where you see your reflection unvarnished by social approval. In that silence, you choose the values you truly own, rather than those foisted upon you. You become a creator of ethics, not a mere follower of rules. Why undergo this strenuous journey? Because true freedom requires sovereignty over your own conscience. When morality remains a blind obedience to inherited codes, you live as a puppet, pulled by strings you don't understand. When you own your ethics, when you craft them with conscious intent, you become an architect of your own life, responsible not to an external tribunal, but to your own reason and compassion. Morality is a lie we tell ourselves only if we treat it as an absolute, if we see it instead as a human invention, an evolving pact meant to serve us rather than a divine decree we must obey. Then morality transforms from chain to compass. It guides us, but does not bind us. It illuminates our path, but does not dictate every step. So today, let yourself question the moral narratives echoing in your mind. Write down your unexamined beliefs. Where did you get them? Whom do they serve? Then, consider one small experiment. Act against a minor moral assumption you hold. Skip a donated gift. Tell a harsh truth. Move beyond in-group solidarity. Observe the fallout. Learn from the chaos. Each experiment is a step toward ethical autonomy. If you find these ideas unsettling, good. That discomfort is the hammer shattering old illusions. If you find them exhilarating, even better, because it means you're waking up to the world's complexity. And complexity, not simplicity, is the true moral terrain. In the end, morality isn't a prison unless you let it be. It can become a tool for liberation if you dismantle the myth of its absoluteness. Question everything. Build your own ethical architecture, and live not by slogans, but by principles you've tested in the flames of honest experience. Only then does morality cease to be a lie and become what it always should have been, a guide to genuine human freedom.